Decades after being introduced in The Empire Strikes Back, we still don't know as much about Yoda's backstory and early life as some would like. At least in canon, a lot of Yoda's history has remained a mystery, which is kinda cool and interesting to maybe not know every detail about the powerful Force user. However, in Legends, we do know a little bit more about the Jedi Knight and Master, so that's where we're going to be pulling from for this video. We're used to the idea of young Force sensitives beginning their Jedi training at a very young age, being taken away from their families as young as an infant to be trained at the Jedi Temple. However, according to legend, this wasn't the case for Yoda. As for the first part of his life, Yoda wasn't even aware that he was Force sensitive at all. Yoda was born on an unknown remote planet, and at a young age, at least young by Yoda standards, he left his home planet with a human friend of his to seek out humble employment on the core worlds. However, the ship that Yoda was traveling on was struck by an asteroid and became disabled, leaving Yoda and his friend stranded in deep space for days. Their rations and life support systems came close to running out until finally their sensors picked up a star system not too far away from them. They had just enough power to make it, and they would end up crashing on the foggy, swampy planet. I'm actually not completely sure if this was meant to be Dagobah, as I've heard two different ideas, one that this was Dagobah, and another that it's simply another world similar but relatively unknown to us. I kinda like to think that it is Dagobah, as I think it would make it pretty cool that this is where Yoda would choose to return to years later for his exile. Yoda and his friend would spend a few days stranded on the planet before they were discovered by a Hysalurian residing on the planet. Hysalurians were a serpent-like species with 4 eyes and 4 arms, and this one in particular's name was Nakada del Gormo, and he just happened to be trained in the ways of the Force and a Jedi. That's lucky, right? You could maybe chalk this chance encounter up as being the will of the Force, so that Yoda could be found and go on to become the master that we all know. Gormo would find, then reveal to the stranded travelers that they were indeed Force sensitive, and invited them to his home where he would train them in the ways of the Force. It's unknown how much time the two spent training on the planet, but eventually, their distress signal would be picked up by a Galactic Republic ship, and they would be rescued from the swamp world. We don't know exactly what happened to Yoda's friend after this, however, Yoda would go on to Coruscant where he would continue his Jedi training. Time would pass, and it became clear that Yoda was very gifted and skilled, and he would eventually pass the Gathering, the exercise on the planet Ilum, where he would find and come to possess his Kyber crystal before being assisted by Hu Yang in constructing his first lightsaber. Yoda completed his Padawan training and became a Jedi Knight. By the time he was 96 years old, he became a Jedi Master, and in 800 BBY, he began training his first student, the first of many students or Padawans that Master Yoda would train over the centuries of his life. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this brief history of Master Yoda's early life and his path to becoming a great Jedi. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one.